chaos of this crowded, messy house. 'Cause the good old days are happening right now. I will remember you walking towards me in that dress, long after I've forgotten my own name. As every other thing about me cracks and fades away, the way I love you stays and stays and stays. When the babies are grown up and they move so far away to live their lives only 'cause sometimes we'll learn to be okay. But one day we'll long for the chaos of this crowded, messy house. 'Cause the good old days are happening right now. I used to carry you 20 blocks home on my back, late nights when your shoes would hurt your feet. When the babies are grown up and they move so far away to live their lives only 'cause sometimes we'll learn to be okay. But one day we'll long for the chaos of this crowded, messy house. 'Cause the good old days are happening right now.
You're happy when I'm on my knees.
Ronald, Michael Pope, just super excited to have you on, man. I mean, first of all, house cleaning items. You have a new EP coming out. It's gonna be a long night, of course. A few singles out already. Breathtaking, man. The good old days, and it's been awesome. So congratulations. We loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And you've been on the road quite a bit, Ron, this year. We've been talking you up since we saw you at City Winery in Atlanta. And I particularly loved, Ron. I mean, what struck with me is the way you made everyone in that room feel like there was nobody else. Like you create magic. It's amazing.
Wow, geez. This tour is me all by myself, obviously. Usually it's me on stage with 7 other people, so there's 8 of us chasing each other around, and kind of a lot of solos and a lot of featured moments for the instrumentalists in the band. And this is just me all alone. So you're getting my lounge act.
Love is a thing you do, so I will kiss you in the morning and before you shut your eyes.
Basically.
Go ahead.
It's just it's a different thing. And so I really try to lean into the stories, and share a little more. For me, it feels like it's a very natural extension of my my regular everyday personality. I don't have to turn anything on to do this show. I just kind of I'm sitting backstage talking to someone, and then I walk onto the stage and I'm kind of doing the same thing. I just have to mix in some songs every once in a while.
Yeah. But Ron, I was watching the other day a Bruce Springsteen concert, I think live from Barcelona. And I think there was a section where he plays Jungle Land and She's the One or something like that. And it reminded me of what you're talking about, like that loungy conversational part with the piano. Bruce was like a big part of where your your influence, right, Ron?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think, obviously there's a lot of kind of obvious base level sort of similarities. Like, I'm from New Jersey originally. I grew up in Georgia, but I lived in New Jersey when I was a little kid. And, so if you run around with a Telecaster and you're a songwriter from New Jersey with a bunch of energy, obviously you're going to get a bunch of those
Right.
Springsteen comparisons. But I love the idea of a songwriter who can also really front a band and be like a true front person, because
Right.
I think a lot of times you see people who, they I didn't come up as like a troubadour with an acoustic guitar, like singing songs and crying, and neither did Bruce. And so I think that if you start from that place, a solo performer, and then you're plugged in and stuck in front of a band, that's a different kind of energy than someone like me or Bruce, who grew up being in a band, playing electric guitar, and then kind of learned to become a songwriter and a storyteller.
Yeah.
So to me, the performance part is a very big part of it. It's an essential element, and that's definitely something, that I think is, where I feel a kinship to Springsteen, I guess.
Totally. And just one more connection to Springsteen, but like the longevity of your career, Ron. I felt like, talking to some of your fans, they've been following you for a long time. There's obviously like a deep connection there, right? And I do see some parallels in the way you're building a solid, sustainable career, with someone like Bruce or whoever has had a long career, in the sense that, like, I feel like your values as a musician are unmovable. You're not following the trends. You're not following, the quirky new sound of the time, or the new social media of the time. Like, you're building yourself on something that is lasting. Am I right or am I wrong?
So far, I put out my first record with, I was in a band first. And so the first record with the band came out 18 years ago.
Right.
And my first solo album came out 14 years ago, I guess. And so, I've been making a living as a professional musician, now for about 14 years.
Mm.
And it has been kind of a slow, gradual thing. We've never been, lucky enough to be in a position where anybody, kind of like sprinkled fairy dust on us at any point and, gave us a boost. And so, unfortunately, I guess for me, it's kind of had to be this, slow, gradual, brick by brick kind of building. And I've been lucky to, find a fan base of people that are engaged and that want to listen to the music and want to go with us,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally, Ron. But another cool thing is you're a father now. Obviously, it's probably your most important title, husband as well. But I wonder, obviously, a great life experience. But you've been a relentless tourer like your whole life. Like, there were years that you played, hundreds of dates a year.
mhm.
How has it been, really, Ron, for the first time in your career to be out, because you've been out pretty much since January or February nonstop, I think. With our family now, with like that concept of like a more solid home at home. Has that been hard?
Well, I have amended my approach to touring in the last
Okay.
number of years. And so this year, as a for instance, I'm only playing on the weekends. And so
Okay.
generally I fly on Friday, I
Yeah.
play on Saturday, and I fly home on Sunday. And so that has made the whole thing a little bit easier because I can be here, to hang out with my family during the week. But last year, or excuse me, 2 years ago, I did go on like my first, kind of conventional tour where I left home and I was gone for about a month.
Yeah.
And it was at the beginning of 2020, and it was hard. And I was really wondering on that tour, if I would ever want to go on tour again, in that way.
Yeah.
And then the universe was like, oh, you want to stay home? Do you stay home? And so,
Right.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like as we move forward in the future, but right now I'm just doing weekends, and that's been a nice change for me because it allows me to be here.
Sure.
Like you said, I mean, the centerpiece of my life now is that I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And then I am, I'm also a musician. I would say, I used to say to people, that I was a musician. If you were like, well, who are you? What do you do? That would be the first thing I said. And now,
Right.
now it's something, I care deeply about making music, but it's definitely not, it's not the centerpiece of my existence anymore. Cause when you're a parent, you can't really, you can't, unless you're a bad parent, you can't really do that. Kids are first.
Man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. By the way, Ron, where are you coming to us from? From Georgia? From your house in Georgia?
I live in Nashville.
You live in Nashville. That's right.
Yeah, I've lived in Nashville for about
Right.
7 years.
Right.
Before this, I was in New York for like about 15 years. So I haven't lived in Georgia in a long, long time.
Love it. So we're neighbors. We're excited to see you at City Winery, by the way, in late April there. But yeah, one of the things, Ron, and you're such a good conversationalist, if it hasn't been obvious at this point for my audience, but we spoke in Atlanta, and I was like, man, I could talk to this guy for 17 hours. And I listened to Good Old Days. I was thinking, Ron, you obviously uncovered something that is beautiful, the gratitude in the small moments and the little things, spending time with your family. But Ron, I'm kind of like thinking, I don't know if you agree. I feel like people are like forgetting. I feel like there was a point in 2020, 2021 where everyone was like on the wavelength of, man, let's be mindful, gratitude, all that, and people are seem to be forgetting that already. Like, do you agree with this?
I don't know. I guess it's hard to make sweeping statements about
Yeah.
what people are doing. And I know for myself, I'm trying to stay mindful and stay, keep gratitude kind of at the forefront of what I'm doing. These have been challenging and dark times. A lot of people have lost their lives, and
Yeah.
so I feel grateful to be here, to be alive, to have my family. And so yeah, I can't speak on what everybody is doing though. That's a tough thing to say, is what,
Sure.
broad sweeping statements like that. I can't do it.
Sure. And how do you go to gratitude, Ron? Like in your, when it's a little dark, when you feel a little down, when you're feeling, is it just as simple as like opening the photo of your daughter and your family, or like how do you reach out to it?
Honestly, I feel like feel pretty easy connection to those things at this point in my life. I think I was
Lovely.
so, coming up, I was very focused on the idea of like the songwriter as this like wounded, animal, like making his way through the world, knocking things over, and that, the art was created from my dysfunction.
Yeah.
And as I became an adult, I just kind of realized that didn't necessarily need to be the case, and that I could make art that was meaningful and also live a life that wasn't like a constant nightmare.
Mm.
So I feel, I just feel grateful every day. I mean, I know that sounds like a little hokey maybe, but
No, not
honestly,
at all.
it
Yeah.
is pretty easy for me to access that gratitude. And I kind of, I very rarely lose sight of it, because I know what my life could be like, if I didn't have, have my family, if I didn't have my career. I have been lonely, and I have been, poor and struggled and tried to make it, and not, clawed and not have it happen. So it's very apparent to me every day,
I love
what's
it.
good in my life, and I'm kind of able to hold on to it without too much effort, I guess, because I know that it's good. I'm very conscious of how good my life is.
Man, that's beautiful. What a great, discipline and muscle there. But don't you think, Ron, that, like, for example, you used to be a baseball player, like you were basically going to be a pro at Rutgers, right? And the Rutgers 2 years, in there before you got injured. Don't you think that, like, this kind of setbacks is like when you started basically realizing, okay, like, how can I make like lemonade out of this like lemon of life challenges? Like, do you think that like these early challenges is something that kind of like, shaped that in a way?
So I want to lead with, no one was going to pay me to play baseball. Definitely not. I mean,
Mm.
but almost certainly not. But
Okay.
yes, I did go to college with the notion, that I was a baseball player, with the hope that I would, make it and be a professional baseball player. Of course, that was my
Right.
dream.
Right.
And a positive for me in transitioning out of a background in sports and into music was that, because I was used to having my life very structured, I kind
Mm.
of took that same notion to working at music, like trying to make music into a career. I was used to getting up early and working very hard, and having a kind of singular sort of focus in my life. And
Yeah.
so that really, I think, aided me in the beginnings of my career, when a lot of the people around me were largely just making music because, and having fun. They weren't thinking about how to turn it into a career in a meaningful way. And so that really worked in my favor. And then once my opportunities like started to kind of open up, and once my audience started to get bigger
Yeah.
online, that sort of like conscientiousness is what led me to be like, okay, now there's these people here. Now, how do we turn this into money so that this can be my job? Because I was very aware that, like, I didn't have any financial backing. And so if
Sure.
I didn't figure out a way to turn my music career into a place where I could, make a living, then it would have to be a hobby, kind of by definition, because I didn't, if I didn't have the money to do it, then I would have to make money elsewhere to both survive and to support my music career. So that, like I said, yeah, the background in athletics led me to all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's great, Ron. And I want to ask you about a couple of the new songs, but just kind of like pivoting of that, as you were talking, I'm thinking, man, that's exactly what's happening with Brooklyn Basement Records too. You know, it's like you basically like you singularly focused into expanding the knowledge of all areas. Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, one of the things you do is you co-founded an independent record label, you know, and it's been very successful. And it's probably helped you also like manage your own career, like just from the understanding perspective of the industry, right?
So, so I will say this. So Blair Clark, who is my
Yes.
manager and who really runs Brooklyn Basement Records and is also my wife, Blair really is the tip of the sword over there. You know, I'm just a pretty face on the sign. You know, no, you know, and I'm a, you know, I do participate, of course, but you know, really, you know, Blair does all the heavy lifting over there. But yeah, we've been very lucky. Like obviously, you know, we kind of do a lot of things under the Brooklyn Basement umbrella. You know, Blair is managing Miko Marks and Emily Scott Robinson, and we have through our marketing partnerships, we have released records from. We did Emily's first full length. We did one of we did Miko's records. We've done a wide variety of really cool things, and so it's been interesting, you know, to kind of get to participate in the careers of a variety of different artists, you know,
Sure.
and to look underneath the hood and see, you know, not just because I think it's easy to, you know, like when you live with the kind of blinders on when your career is the only thing that you work on, I think it's easy to think that there's only one way for things to work, and that's really not the case. You know, in
Yeah.
entertainment, especially, you know, I haven't ever found that there's like a clear cut playbook. You know, something that works for one artist doesn't necessarily work for another. So yes, it's been exciting to get to participate and to watch, you know, some other artists that we really believe in, watch them find success and to be able to add, you know, value to their careers, because you know, other, like if you're not helping other people, what are you doing?
Right. Exactly. That's the title of this episode right there. I love it. Love it. Love it. Let me ask you about a couple songs, and thank you for your time. You're being so cool, man. Appreciate it, Ron. You know, A Drop in the Ocean. I have to start there because I mean, this song you co-wrote it with Zach Berkman, and it's been certified like platinum recently. I mean, it's a massive hit, but and seeing it live is pretty much a transcendent experience. Ron, actually, it really is. It's like it gives you chills, you know, goosebumps every part of your body, man. Like
You are mine.
so I guess the question is, why do you think this song continues to resonate the way it does? And man, you know, I'm thinking I'm not an artist, but man, I think if I had, you know, if I was a musician and I could pull out a drop in the ocean and leave it out in the world, man, that's a legacy right there, Ron.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you a few things. One, I have no idea why it's that song as opposed to some other song. Like I appreciate, of course, and understand that it's a good song. It's a catchy song. I get from an, you know, an analysis point, like why, like a lot of the reasons why it works, but why it has worked to the degree that it has, you know, where we've sold around the world, we've sold millions and millions of copies. We've had, you know, billions of streams of that song. Now it's, you know, this gigantic ubiquitous thing. I don't know, you know, I mean, some of it is like, you know, I happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I had like very meticulously built a grassroots following at the beginnings of social media. And
Sure.
so I reached a sort of tipping point where I had enough of these very excited early adopters, you know, spreading the music. And like I said, I mean, I think it's a good song, and I'm proud of it. But I have no idea why it is that that song is something that connects to, you know, to me, it sounds like it's about a breakup. But when some people play it as the first dance song at their wedding. Some people play it at funerals. Like I don't know. You know, that's the best part to me about art is that it is absolutely subjective. And so you can, like, if I was a painter and I painted a picture and I thought that it was a picture of a house, and you looked at it and you thought that it was a picture of a frog, Well, then for you, it's irrelevant that my intention was for it to be a picture of a house. Like for you, it's a frog,
Yeah.
and that's like with music, it's the same thing. It's like if you feel like it's a song about your first love, or a song about your relationship with your grandmother, or something that reminds you of your best friend from high school, or your whatever, your partner, whatever the thing, that's what it is. It doesn't matter what my intentions were. And I really love that. It, like, especially with a song that has succeeded, I guess, or whatever, gone out and grown to the scale that song has grown to. It's wild to watch how many things that people take it and then bolt it onto for themselves. So I am eternally grateful for it. I do not have any clear-cut idea as to why it is so successful, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah, well said, Ron. And let me leave you with this. I mean, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. It's one of the latest singles of your new EP. Obviously it's a classic, but you gave it a really nice spin. Just share with us a little bit why this song, and just a little bit about closing thoughts on the songs you picked for the EP there.
That song came out when I was in the 9th grade. And I was talking about songs being applied everywhere. That for in my youth, at that part of my youth, that song was applied in so many places. If you went to a high school dance, if you went to a funeral, they played it at graduations. It was everywhere. It was used for
on
everything.
TV, the Friends finale, right? Remember, was it the?
It was everywhere. It was just it was ubiquitous. And so, and like it came out in, I guess, like 1997, and it just like, for years and years and years, it just came out. And so for me now, there's this special kind of nostalgia attached to it, because it was there at this like very formative part of my life. And so I really love that song. I kind of can't believe that I've never attempted to cover it before, because it's just like, like I said, it's just kind of always been there for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I chose it. I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, like this is a song that I feel like I've always known. And so it's and it's also one of those that, when you hear it, if you feel like it could have existed forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those kind of like things that just feels like, I don't know, very natural. And so it felt nice to try it. And so this EP, It's Gonna Be a Long Night, we talked about the good old days. And it has that cover, and then it has Lie, Cheat, and Steal, which is another one of these songs. And I basically just tried to like really like limit the noise, and in the like with the production. One of the things that I wanted to do, in terms of like taking my art and my life and putting them together, I just couldn't imagine leaving my family and going into the studio and being locked in a cave for a long time. And like, usually when we're working on a record, it's like I wake up in the morning, I take a shower, I do my vocal warm up, we get coffee, we go to the studio. And so we start, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we work until we're too tired to stop. We have to stop. Like we eat breakfast, we eat lunch, we eat dinner there. We're there, and we come home and it's dark. And so, my daughter is just about to turn 4 years old. And so if I came home at midnight every night, I wouldn't see her at all, except for in the morning when I woke up. And that just didn't feel like a reasonable thing to me. So
right.
I took one of my best friends, Paul Hammer, who is, a musical partner of mine. He's been a musical partner of mine for about 20 years now. And I took Paul and his wife and Blair and I, and we took my daughter, and we went and we rented a house, and we all stayed there together. And Paul and I went, worked in one of the bedrooms, but we were there. I was a part of my family's life all day. I would go in the studio and I would work, and then I would come out and, eat a sandwich with my daughter, or go for a walk with her. When we took a break, we were in the house. We were participants in the lives of our family. And so that felt like a much more, for me, a much more desirable way to do it at this juncture in my life. And so that's one of the reasons why all these productions are, pretty delicate. It's just Paul and I in a room, working on these, largely alone. And so that's also why there are no drums. We didn't want to bring drums, so we just didn't. So,
perfect. And it's such a great listen, man.
And so it all feels like very delicate, and I think that it's from, we're living in a very, comfortable and kind of delicate way, in a very different way than we've usually recorded. And so that's what It's Gonna Be a Long Night EP is all about.
Love it. Love it, Ron. And it's a wonderful EP. And you've said it all, man. Thank you for your time. I do have to come clean about one thing before. I have to apologize because when I saw you in Atlanta, before you got in there was like a plate of hummus and chips in the backstage area. And I was with my friend of the show, Lauren Morrow. And I was not aware that this was your plate of hummus and chips, Ron. And I may have snacked on a few. Guilty.
That's what they're for. They're for sharing. That's what it's for. It's for sharing.
If you got there and you said, "Who ate the quarter of my hummus?" Guilty as charged.
It's for sharing, so it's okay. I appreciate your honesty, though.
All right, Ron. See you around. Thank you so much.
All right, so long. Bye-bye.
Bye.